3. The scanner slipped, not dramatically, just a quarter-inch slide against Mary's palm, enough to make the barcode blur out of focus. The beep failed. She repositioned, pressed the trigger again. Another failure. Her hands were shaking. Wing C of the distribution center hummed with the usual chaos. Forklifts reversing, conveyor belts grinding, the metallic clang of pallets hitting concrete. Nobody was watching her. Nobody except Diane Marsh, the area manager who'd been circling the floor for the past hour with a tablet and the expression of someone hunting for mistakes. Mary's station was the last checkpoint before shipping. The box in front of her had the wrong label. Not her error, but it had passed through her hands. If Diane discovered it, there'd be a written warning, maybe a suspension. In this economy, in this job market, a suspension was a death sentence. She grabbed the device tighter, willing her fingers to cooperate. The tremor worsened. Not now. Not here. She'd been managing her anxiety for years. Late rent payments, night classes, double shifts, the constant calculation of which bill could wait another week. She'd learned to compartmentalize, to breathe through the pressure, to never let anyone see the cracks. But today, the system had crashed for 40 minutes. 3 shipments were delayed, and her statistics professor had emailed about a missing assignment worth 20% of her grade. The perfect storm. Mary pressed her fingers against the cold metal of the scanner, using pain to force focus. She just needed 30 seconds. 30 seconds to fix this label, close the batch, and get through the shift without... Need help with that? The voice came from behind her, low and unhurried. No alarm, no judgment. Just a question. Justin Kang stood 3 meters away, hands in his pockets, supervisor polo shirt wrinkled from a 12-hour shift. He wasn't looking at her hands. He was looking at the box, the scanner, the screen. Casual, professional. But Mary had seen his eyes flicker to her fingers for half a second before looking away. He'd noticed. "I've got it under control," she said, her voice too sharp, too defensive. Justin took 2 steps forward. "I know you do." He reached out, no hesitation, no drama, and took the scanner from her hand. Not forcefully, just took it. "Go drink some water. Breathe for a minute. I'll cover this batch." "You don't need to." "I know I don't need to." He was already scanning the box, fingers moving efficiently across the touchscreen. "But the system's been a mess today, and you've been here since 6 a.m. Go. I'll log this as a system error." Mary stood frozen. She wanted to argue, to prove she didn't need saving, to snatch the scanner back and finish the job herself. But her hands were still shaking, and Justin was already correcting the label in the database, his face neutral, professional, giving her an exit. She walked away before her pride could betray her. When she returned 5 minutes later, hands steady, breathing controlled, Justin was gone. But on her station, next to the scanner, sat a closed water bottle she hadn't brought, and a yellow sticky note pressed against the plastic. "You're good at what you do. Breathe. J." Mary stared at the note for 10 seconds, her throat tight. He hadn't asked if she was okay. He hadn't made a scene. He'd just protected her. Quietly. Efficiently. And then disappeared. She picked up the scanner and finished her shift. But everything had changed. Because Justin Kang had seen the one thing she'd spent years hiding, and instead of treating her like broken glass, he'd just started paying closer attention. If someone saw the moment you almost broke and chose to hold the weight with you instead of walking away, would you let them? Subscribe, so we can bring you more stories about the kind of love that doesn't announce itself. It just shows up. Mary didn't see Justin again for 3 days. Their shifts overlapped, but supervisors moved between wings, handling fires, negotiating with trucking companies, covering gaps when someone called in sick. He was everywhere and nowhere, a voice on the radio, a signature on a report, a figure crossing the warehouse floor too quickly to make eye contact. She told herself it was relief. No awkward conversations, No questions about what had happened in Wing C, no need to explain the tremor or the anxiety, or the fact that she was barely holding her life together with duct tape and caffeine. But every time she opened her locker, the yellow note was there, folded inside her jacket pocket. She hadn't thrown it away. On Thursday night, Mary arrived for her shift to find her station assignment had changed. Instead of Wing C, the high-pressure shipping zone where Diane prowled, she'd been moved to Wing B. Slower pace, fewer audits, less chaos. Tasha Williams, her usual work partner, raised an eyebrow when she saw the new schedule posted on the board. "Girl, when did you get magic powers?" Tasha leaned against the metal shelf, braids swinging. "Wing B is like vacation compared to C. I've been trying to get transferred there for 6 months." Mary frowned. "I didn't request this." "Then someone requested it for you." Tasha's grin was knowing. "And unless you've been bribing the general manager with homemade cookies, I'd bet money it was your favorite supervisor." "What are you talking about?" "Justin Kang." Tasha said his name like it explained everything. "He submitted a workload rebalancing proposal 2 days ago. I saw it in the break room. Cited operational efficiency and employee wellness metrics. Very official. Very convenient that you ended up in the easiest wing right after." Mary's stomach flipped. "That doesn't mean..." "Doesn't mean what? That he rearranged the entire schedule to get you out from under Diane's microscope?" Tasha laughed. "Mary, the man moved mountains and made it look like paperwork. That's not coincidence. That's intention." Mary didn't respond. She clocked in, grabbed her scanner, and walked to Wing B in silence. But all night, as she checked inventory in the quiet rows of non-perishable goods, far from the pressure and the noise and Diane's hungry gaze, one thought circled her mind. Why? Why would Justin Kang, a supervisor with 100 employees under his watch, go out of his way to protect someone he barely knew? At 2 a.m., during her break, Mary found herself in the empty cafeteria, staring at a vending machine and thinking about yellow sticky notes. The door opened behind her. Justin walked in, thermos in hand, looking as tired as she felt. He saw her, paused for half a second, then continued to the coffee station like her presence didn't surprise him at all. "Wing B treating you well?" he asked, back turned, pouring coffee. Mary's throat tightened. "Did you move me there?" "I adjusted the workload distribution. You weren't the only one affected. But I was the reason." He turned then, leaning against the counter, holding his thermos with both hands. His expression was calm, unreadable. "You were doing good work in a bad situation. I fixed the situation. That's my job. Your job is operational efficiency, not babysitting employees who can't handle pressure. That's not what I'm doing." "Then what are you doing?" Justin met her eyes. "Making sure good people don't break, because the system's broken." The words landed between them like a stone in still water. Mary wanted to argue, to push back, to prove she didn't need protection. But the truth was, she had been breaking. And he'd seen it. And instead of reporting it, instead of treating her differently, he'd just quietly rearranged the pieces so she could breathe. "Thank you," she said finally, the words scraping out. Justin nodded once. "Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you're doing." He walked past her toward the door, then paused. "And Mary? If it happens again, the shaking, the pressure, whatever, you don't have to hide it. Not from me." He left before she could respond. Mary stood in the empty cafeteria, heart pounding, and realized with absolute certainty that Justin Kang was the most dangerous kind of man, the kind who paid attention. The email arrived on Friday afternoon, 40 minutes before Mary's logistics management class. Subject: Inventory Discrepancy Review. Wing C, Sept 14. Mary's blood went cold. She opened it in the parking lot, still in her work uniform, engine idling. Dear Ms. Carter, a routine audit has flagged a labeling error processed through your station on September 14th. The error was corrected in the system, but we need to review your incident report to ensure protocol compliance. Please submit your statement by Monday, 9 a.m. Regards, Diane Marsh, Area Manager. Mary read it 3 times. September 14th, the day her hands shook. The day Justin took the scanner from her and logged the error himself. She didn't have an incident report. Because she hadn't filed one. Because Justin had handled it. And now Diane was digging. Mary's first instinct was panic. Her second was anger, at herself, at the system, at the fact that one bad moment could unravel everything she'd built. She drove to campus in a daze, sat through 2 hours of supply chain theory without absorbing a single word, and spent the entire bus ride home staring at her phone. She should reply to the email, explain what happened, take responsibility. But if she admitted the truth, that she'd been struggling, that Justin had covered for her, she'd drag him down too. Favoritism. Protocol violation. A supervisor protecting an employee without proper documentation. She could lose her job. He could lose his. By the time Mary got home to her studio apartment, exhaustion had turned into resignation. She'd reply Monday morning, tell the truth, and accept the consequences. It was the only fair option. Her phone buzzed at 11 p.m. Justin Kang. Got a minute? Mary stared at the message. They'd never texted before. She didn't even know he had her number. Those supervisors had access to employee contact info. Mary. Yes. Justin. I saw Diane's email. Don't reply yet. Mary. I have to. She's asking for my report. Justin. I filed the report, under my name. It's logged as supervisor override for system malfunction. Mary's fingers froze over the keyboard. Mary. You can't do that. Justin. Already did. Monday morning, forward her email to me. I'll handle it. Mary. Justin, if she finds out you covered for me. Justin. She won't. The report is clean. The data backs it up. You're protected. Mary. Why are you doing this? 3 minutes passed. Then, Justin. Because everyone deserves a bad day without losing their job. Mary sat on the edge of her bed, phone in her lap, chest tight. She wanted to argue. To tell him he didn't owe her anything, that she could fight her own battles. But the truth was simpler and more terrifying. He was offering her something she'd never had before. Safety. Not the kind that came from hiding or pretending or enduring alone. The kind that came from someone standing beside you and saying, I see you, and I'm not leaving. She typed slowly. Mary. Thank you. Justin. Get some sleep. Monday will be fine. She didn't sleep. But when Monday came and she forwarded Diane's email to Justin, he replied within an hour with a formal report, timestamps, system logs, and a politely worded explanation that made the whole incident look like routine protocol. Diane never replied. And Mary realized, sitting at her station in Wing B with steady hands and a clear head, that Justin Kang had just rewritten her story. Not by erasing the struggle, but by making sure it didn't define her. 3 weeks passed. Mary settled into Wing B, hit her targets, aced her midterm exam, and almost convinced herself that life had found a sustainable rhythm. She saw Justin in passing, a nod in the hallway, a brief exchange during shift meetings, but nothing more. Professional, distant, safe. Tasha, however, was unconvinced. You know he takes his lunch break in the loading dock now, right? Tasha said one afternoon, perched on a stack of pallets. Weird coincidence that it's the same time you take yours. Mary didn't look up from her scanner. Lots of people take lunch at noon. Uh-huh. And lots of supervisors personally deliver schedule changes to your locker instead of posting them on the board. That happened once. 3 times, Mary. 3 times in 3 weeks. Tasha's grin was insufferable. Girl, the man is orbiting you. He's being professional. Professional is an email. What he's doing is called I care about you, but I'm too emotionally constipated to say it out loud. Mary finally looked up. He's my supervisor. There's a power dynamic. He's just making sure I'm okay after... She stopped. After what? Mary shook her head. Nothing. But Tasha's eyes narrowed. Wait. Did something happen? Like something that made him start acting like your personal guardian angel? Before Mary could deflect, the loudspeaker crackled. All shift leads and department heads report to conference room A immediately. Tasha winced. That's never good. She was right. 20 minutes later, the news spread through the warehouse like wildfire. Corporate was implementing a performance audit, individual metrics, targeted interviews. Anyone below the efficiency threshold would be flagged for performance improvement plans. Corporate speak for, you're on thin ice. And Mary's name was on the list. Not because her current numbers were bad, they were solid, but because her metrics from September, back when she'd been in Wing C, had dipped during the system crashes and the label error incident. The audit interview was scheduled for Thursday, with Diane Marsh. Mary felt the ground tilt. She made it through the rest of her shift on autopilot, clocked out, and walked to the parking lot in a fog. She sat in her car for 10 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to remember how to breathe. A knock on her window made her jump. Justin stood outside, backpack slung over one shoulder, expression unreadable. She rolled down the window. You heard, he said. Not a question. Yeah. You're going to be fine. You don't know that. I do. He crouched slightly, bringing himself to eye level. Your numbers are good. Diane's targeting you because she needs a scapegoat for her own department's failures. But I have 3 months of data showing the issue was systemic, not individual. She won't care about data if she's already decided. Then I'll make her care. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Thursday morning, I'm submitting a counter report before your interview. You're not walking into that room without backup. Mary's throat tightened. Justin, you can't keep doing this. Doing what? Protecting me, fighting my battles, risking your own position because I can't... Her voice cracked. Because I can't hold it together. Justin was quiet for a moment. Then, 2 years ago, my mom had a breakdown. She was working 60-hour weeks, hiding the exhaustion, convinced asking for help was weakness. I didn't notice until she ended up in the ER. He looked away, jaw tight. I learned to read the signs after that. The shaking hands, the too bright smile, the way someone holds themselves together just a little too tightly. Mary's chest ached. I saw those signs in you, Justin continued, meeting her eyes again. And I decided I wasn't going to watch someone break when I could do something about it. That's not me fighting your battles, Mary. That's me making sure the fight is fair. She didn't know what to say. Thursday, he said, standing. I'll be there. You won't face this alone. He walked to his car before she could respond. Mary sat in the silence, tears burning her eyes, and realized she'd been wrong about Justin Kang. He wasn't dangerous because he paid attention. He was dangerous because he made her believe she didn't have to carry everything alone. Thursday arrived like an execution date. Mary dressed carefully, clean work uniform, hair pulled back, no jewelry. Professional, unremarkable, the kind of employee who blended into the background and never caused problems. She reported to conference room A at 9 a.m. sharp. Diane sat at the head of the table, tablet open, reading glasses perched on her nose. Beside her was Harrison Cole, the general manager, a man Mary had seen exactly twice in 18 months. This was serious. Ms. Carter, please sit. Diane's voice was clipped, efficient. Mary sat. We're here to discuss performance inconsistencies flagged during the recent audit. Diane tapped her screen. September showed a significant drop in your accuracy rate and processing speed. Care to explain? Mary opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the door opened. Justin walked in, folder in hand, expression neutral. Apologies for the interruption. He addressed Harrison, not Diane. I have relevant context for this review. Diane's jaw tightened. This is a private employee evaluation, Mr. Kang. It's a performance audit based on Wing C metrics, Justin replied calmly. I was the supervising lead for Wing C in September. My input is procedurally relevant. Harrison gestured to an empty chair. Sit. Justin placed the folder on the table and opened it. September's metrics reflect systemic failure, not individual performance. We experienced 4 unscheduled system outages, delayed shipments from 3 vendors, and a 30% spike in volume due to promotional overload. Every employee in Wing C saw dips. Mary's numbers were actually above average compared to her peers. He slid a printed chart across the table. Diane barely glanced at it. That doesn't explain why Ms. Carter required intervention on multiple occasions. What intervention? Justin's voice remained calm, but there was an edge now. The label correction incident, the schedule adjustment, the workload rebalancing. Diane leaned forward. You've shown considerable attention to Ms. Carter's performance. Some might call it favoritism. The air in the room shifted. Mary's stomach dropped. Justin met Diane's gaze without flinching. I made operational decisions to address inefficiencies affecting my entire team. Mary benefited because she was in the area most impacted. If you're suggesting I acted inappropriately, I'd be happy to have HR review every decision I've made in the past 6 months. I'm confident they'll find nothing but protocol compliance and documented justification. Silence. Harrison cleared his throat. Ms. Carter, do you have anything to add? Mary's mouth was dry. She doesn't need to add anything. Justin interrupted. Her work speaks for itself. Since moving to Wing B, her metrics have been consistently above target. She's reliable, competent, and one of the strongest employees on my team. If this audit is genuinely about performance, the data proves she's not the problem. He closed the folder. If it's about something else, we should address that directly. Diane's face flushed. Harrison studied Justin for a long moment, then looked at Mary. Ms. Carter, you're dismissed. We'll notify you of our findings by end of week. Mary stood on shaking legs and left the room. She made it to the women's restroom before her knees gave out. 15 minutes later, Justin found her in the hallway outside the cafeteria. She was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, staring at nothing. You shouldn't have done that, she said without looking at him. Probably not. She's going to come after you now. Let her. Justin? Mary. He stepped closer, voice low. I don't care if Diane thinks I'm biased. I don't care if HR wants to review my decisions. Because here's the truth. I am paying attention to you. More than I should. More than is strictly professional. Her breath caught. But it's not because you're struggling, he continued. It's because I've watched you show up every single day. Work harder than anyone else. Put yourself through night school. And refuse to ask for help even when you're drowning. That's not weakness, Mary. That's strength. And I'm not going to apologize for recognizing it. Mary finally looked at him. What are you saying? Justin held her gaze. I'm saying I didn't do this just because you're good at your job. The words hung between them, heavy and undeniable. Before Mary could respond, his radio crackled. He glanced at it, jaw tight, then back at her. I have to go. But Mary... He paused. You don't owe me anything. Not gratitude, not explanations, nothing. I just need you to know. I see you. All of you. And I'm not going anywhere. He turned and walked away, leaving Mary alone in the hallway with her heart pounding and the world tilting on its axis. Because Justin Kang had just crossed a line, and she didn't want him to go back. Mary didn't hear from HR by Friday, or the following Monday. The silence was worse than a verdict. She moved through her shifts like a ghost, scanning boxes, hitting targets, keeping her head down. Tasha tried to pull her into conversation, but Mary deflected with practiced ease. She couldn't talk about the audit, couldn't explain the knot in her stomach, couldn't admit that Justin's words in the hallway had lodged themselves in her chest. and refused to leave. "I didn't do this just because you're good at your job." What did that mean? Was it a confession? A warning? An invitation? And why did the thought of it make her feel equal parts terrified and hopeful? By Wednesday, the pressure cracked. Mary was in the break room, staring at her untouched lunch, when her phone buzzed with an email. Subject: Performance Review Update. Her vision blurred. She opened it. Ms. Carter, after thorough review, the performance audit findings have been resolved in your favor. No further action required. Your current metrics meet company standards. Regards. Harrison Cole, General Manager. Mary read it 3 times, waiting for the relief to come. It didn't, because buried in the corporate language was the truth. Justin had won. He'd defended her, backed her with data, put his own credibility on the line, and she hadn't even thanked him. Worse, she'd been avoiding him. Since Thursday, she'd changed her break schedule, taken different routes through the warehouse, kept her head down whenever she saw his familiar figure crossing the floor. Not because she didn't want to see him, but because she didn't know how to face the fact that someone had fought for her when she'd spent her entire life believing she had to fight alone. That night, halfway through her shift, the anxiety hit. Not because of work, not because of Diane or the audit or metrics, because she was standing in Wing B, surrounded by perfectly stacked inventory, and suddenly couldn't breathe. It came out of nowhere, chest tight, hands shaking, heart racing like she'd just sprinted a mile. She set down her scanner carefully, walked to the restroom with deliberate calm, locked herself in a stall, and pressed her forehead against the cold metal divider. Breathe. Just breathe. But her body wasn't listening. She didn't know how long she stayed there. 5 minutes, 10, 20. Time stretched and blurred. She heard the bathroom door open once, footsteps, then silence. Probably Tasha. Mary didn't respond. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out with shaking hands. Justin. I'm not coming in. I'm outside. When you're ready, I'm here. Mary stared at the screen. How did he know? Had someone told him? Had he just noticed she was gone? Another message appeared. Justin. No rush, no questions. Just wanted you to know you're not alone. Her throat closed. She stood slowly, unlocked the stall, washed her face with cold water, and stared at her reflection. Red eyes, exhausted, but breathing. She opened the bathroom door. Justin was leaning against the opposite wall, arms crossed, looking down at his phone. When he heard the door, he looked up. No pity, no alarm, just steady acknowledgement. He held out a water bottle. Figured you could use this. Mary took it, unscrewed the cap, drank half in one go. Thanks. You okay? She almost said yes. The automatic response, the armor, the lie she'd perfected over years of handling everything alone. But Justin's eyes were calm and patient, and she was so tired of pretending. No, she whispered. I'm not okay. He nodded like she'd just confirmed something he already knew. What do you need? I don't know. Her voice cracked. I don't know how to stop feeling like I'm going to fall apart. You're not going to fall apart. How do you know? Because you've been holding everything together for years, Justin said quietly. And you're still here, still showing up, still trying. That doesn't look like falling apart to me. That looks like someone who's strong enough to admit when things are hard. Mary's eyes burned. I'm so tired of being strong. Then don't be. Not right now. He straightened. Come on, let's get out of here. I'm still on shift. I'll cover it. You're taking a mental health break. Non-negotiable. She wanted to argue, but she didn't have the energy. Justin walked her to the parking lot, made sure she got in her car, and leaned against the open door. Go home. Sleep. Don't think about work or school or anything else. Just rest. Justin. Mary. His voice was firm but gentle. You don't have to carry everything alone. I know you're used to it. I know it feels safer, but you don't have to anymore. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere just because things get hard." She looked up at him, vision blurred with unshed tears. "Why?" "Because someone should have been here for you a long time ago." He stepped back and closed her car door carefully. "Drive safe." Mary sat in her car, engine running, and watched Justin walk back into the warehouse. And for the first time in years, she let herself cry. Not because she was breaking, but because someone had finally seen her struggling and hadn't walked away. Mary called in sick the next day. Then the day after that. She spent 48 hours in her apartment, sleeping in fragments, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece herself back together. She didn't check her work email, didn't text Tasha, didn't think about inventory or logistics or the mountain of responsibilities waiting for her. She just existed. On Friday afternoon, someone knocked on her door. Mary considered ignoring it, but the knock came again, patient, persistent. She opened the door. Tasha stood in the hallway, grocery bag in hand, eyebrows raised. "You look like hell." "Thanks. Can I come in?" Mary stepped aside. Tasha walked into the tiny studio, set the bag on the counter, and started unpacking. Soup, crackers, orange juice, tea. "Justin asked me to check on you." Mary's chest tightened. "He did?" "Yep." "Didn't give details, just said you'd had a rough week and might need backup." Tasha pulled out a container of soup. "So here I am, backup." Mary sank onto the couch. "I'm fine." "Girl, you just took 2 days off in the middle of audit season. You are objectively not fine." Tasha sat beside her. "And that's okay. But you gotta talk to somebody, Mary, even if it's just me." Mary was quiet for a long time. Then, "I had a panic attack, at work. Justin found me." "Ah." Tasha nodded slowly. "That explains why he's been walking around like a worried dad for 2 days. He covered my shift, told me to go home." "Of course he did." Tasha's smile was soft. "That man would probably rearrange the whole warehouse schedule if he thought it would help you." "That's the problem." Mary's voice cracked. "I don't know how to let someone do that. I don't know how to accept help without feeling like I'm failing." Tasha reached over and squeezed her hand. "Accepting help isn't failure, Mary. It's trust. And maybe it's time you trusted someone. What if I mess it up? What if I drag him down? What if you don't?" Tasha countered. "What if he's exactly who he seems to be? A good man who sees you, cares about you, and isn't going anywhere?" Mary closed her eyes. "I'm scared. I know. But you're also brave and strong and worthy of someone who shows up." Tasha stood. "Now eat this soup before it gets cold. I have to get back for my shift, but text me if you need anything." She left before Mary could thank her. Mary ate the soup, drank the tea, and fell asleep on the couch with Tasha's words echoing in her mind. What if he's exactly who he seems to be? When Mary returned to work on Monday, she half expected awkwardness, whispers, questions, but the warehouse hummed as usual. Tasha greeted her with a fist bump. Her station in Wing B was exactly as she'd left it, and Justin was nowhere to be seen. It took Mary 3 hours to realize he was deliberately avoiding her wing. She saw him across the floor twice, always moving in the opposite direction, always busy with something else. By lunch, she'd had enough. She found him in the loading dock, alone, reviewing a shipment manifest on a clipboard. "Are you avoiding me?" she asked. Justin looked up, surprise flickering across his face before his expression smoothed. "No. You've been in every wing except B today." "Coincidence." "Justin." He set down the clipboard. "I didn't want you to feel like I was hovering. You needed space. What if I don't want space?" The question hung in the air between them. Justin studied her face. "What do you want, Mary?" She took a breath. "I want to say thank you. For last week. For the audit. For everything. You didn't have to do any of it. And I know I haven't made it easy, but You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. Because you keep showing up, even when I push you away. And I need you to know that I see it. I see you. Her voice softened. And I don't know what this is between us, but I don't want to keep pretending it doesn't exist. Justin's expression shifted, guarded walls lowering, something raw and real beneath. I can't promise you easy, Mary. I'm not good with words. I don't do grand gestures. All I know how to do is show up and stay. That's all I need. He stepped closer. If we do this, whatever this is, it can't be one-sided. I need to know you'll let me in. Not just when things fall apart, but before. I need to know you trust me enough to say when you're struggling. Mary's eyes stung. I'm not used to that. I know, but I'll wait until you are. She looked up at him. This man who'd rewritten reports and defended her to management, and sat outside bathroom doors without asking for explanations. This man who saw her at her worst and didn't flinch. Okay, she whispered. Okay? I'll try, to let you in, to trust. She smiled shakily. But you have to be patient with me. I've got time. And there, in the loading dock surrounded by pallets and forklifts, and the hum of the warehouse, something shifted. Not a dramatic confession, not a kiss or a declaration, just two people choosing to stop running. For 2 weeks, everything was quiet. Mary and Justin fell into a rhythm. Lunch breaks in the loading dock, brief text exchanges after shifts, a kind of unspoken partnership that felt both natural and fragile. He didn't push. She didn't retreat. Slowly, carefully, they learned each other. Mary discovered that Justin hated mornings, loved terrible action movies, and had a dry sense of humor that only emerged when he was exhausted. Justin learned that Mary stress-baked at 2 a.m., was terrified of failure, and had a ruthless competitive streak when it came to logistics theory. It was easy, comfortable, too comfortable. Tasha noticed first. You know people are talking, right? She said one afternoon, leaning against Mary's station. Mary looked up from her scanner. About what? About you and Justin, the way he looks at you, the way you smile at your phone during breaks. Tasha's expression was serious. I'm not saying it's a problem, but warehouse gossip is brutal, and Diane already has it out for both of you. Mary's stomach sank. We're not doing anything wrong. I know that, you know that, but perception matters. Tasha glanced around. Just be careful, okay? Mary nodded, but unease settled in her chest. That night, she texted Justin. Mary, people are noticing. Justin. Noticing what? Mary. Us, the way we've been spending time together. 3 minutes passed. Justin. Does that bother you? Mary. I don't want to cause problems for you. Justin. You're not. But if you want to pull back, I understand. Mary. I don't want to pull back. I just don't want this to blow up in our faces. Justin. Then we keep doing what we're doing. Carefully, honestly. Mary. Okay. But 2 days later, careful wasn't enough. Mary was in the break room when she overheard it. 2 women from Wing A sitting at the next table, voices low but not low enough. I'm just saying, it's suspicious. He changes her schedule, defends her in meetings, takes breaks when she does. Maybe they're actually together. Then he should disclose it. It's a conflict of interest. Mary's hands froze around her water bottle. Diane's already asking questions. If HR gets involved... Mary stood abruptly and left the break room before she heard the rest. She made it through her shift on autopilot, clocked out, and drove home with her mind racing. If HR investigated, they'd find nothing concrete, but the optics were bad. Supervisor and employee, power imbalance. Even if their relationship was new, even if they'd done nothing wrong, the appearance of favoritism was enough to destroy both their careers. Mary spent the night staring at the ceiling, stomach churning. By morning, she'd made a decision. She found Justin in the warehouse office before her shift started. We need to talk. He looked up from his computer, saw her face, and closed the door. What's wrong? People are talking. About us. And if it gets to HR, I know. His voice was calm. Tasha gave me a heads up yesterday. Mary blinked. You knew? Yeah. And you didn't say anything? I was waiting for you to bring it up. He leaned against the desk. What do you want to do? I don't know. I don't want to put your job at risk. Mary, Justin, you've worked here for 5 years. You have a reputation, a career. I can't be the reason you lose that. You're not going to be the reason I lose anything. His voice was firm. But if you want to step back, if you need distance to protect yourself, I'll respect that. Mary's throat tightened. That's not what I want. Then what do you want? I want this to work. I want us to work, but I don't know how to do that when the whole warehouse is watching. Justin was quiet for a moment. Then, HR can't punish us for something that started after you were moved out of my direct supervision. And if they question my decisions regarding your schedule or the audit, I have documentation proving everything was procedurally sound. But the gossip is just gossip, unless we let it control us. He stepped closer. I'm not going to hide how I feel about you, Mary. But I'm also not going to put you in a position where you're uncomfortable. So you tell me, what do you need? Mary looked at him. This man who'd been steady when she was falling apart, who'd defended her without hesitation, who was offering her a choice instead of making assumptions. I need us to be smart, professional at work. No favoritism, no special treatment. Done. And if HR does investigate, we tell the truth. No hiding, no lying. Agreed. And she hesitated. I need to know you're in this, really in this. Because if we're taking this risk, I need to know it's not just Mary. He cut her off gently. I'm in this, completely. I don't do halfway. Relief and fear tangled in her chest. Okay. Okay? Yeah. Justin smiled. Small, real. Then we'll figure it out. Together. But as Mary left the office and returned to her shift, she couldn't shake the feeling that the storm hadn't passed. It was just beginning. The call came 3 days later. Mary Carter and Justin Kang, please report to HR. Immediately. The warehouse floor went silent. Mary felt every pair of eyes on her as she walked toward the administrative wing, heart pounding. Justin appeared from the opposite direction, expression unreadable. They didn't speak, didn't look at each other. Inside the HR office, Diane sat beside Patricia Owens, the head of human resources, a woman Mary had only seen in company-wide emails. This was bad. Please sit, Patricia said, voice professional but not unkind. They sat. Patricia folded her hands on the desk. We've received reports of a personal relationship between the two of you. Given Mr. Kang's supervisory role, this requires formal review. Mary's stomach dropped. To be clear, Patricia continued, relationships between employees are not prohibited. However, when there's a reporting structure involved, we need to ensure there's no conflict of interest or favoritism. Mary doesn't report to me anymore, Justin said calmly. She was moved to Wing B 6 weeks ago. But you were her supervisor when the alleged relationship began. The relationship began after the transfer, Justin replied. And the transfer itself was part of a workload rebalancing initiative that affected multiple employees. Diane leaned forward. But you did intervene during her performance audit. I provided relevant operational context during a review process. That's standard protocol for supervising leads. And the schedule changes? The incident report you filed on her behalf? All documented decisions with clear operational justification. Justin's voice remained steady. If you want to audit every choice I made, I welcome it. You'll find nothing improper. Patricia glanced at Diane, then back at Justin. We're not questioning your integrity, Mr. Kang. We're ensuring compliance. Then let me be clear, Justin said. I care about Mary. I'm not going to apologize for that. But every professional decision I made regarding her was based on data, protocol, and the same standards I apply to every member of my team. Our personal relationship started after she was no longer under my direct supervision. We've done nothing wrong. Silence. Patricia turned to Mary. Ms. Carter, do you feel pressured by Mr. Kang in any way? No. Has he ever offered professional favors in exchange for personal involvement? No. Mary's voice was firm. Justin has never been anything but professional and respectful. He's supported me the same way he supports everyone on his team. The only difference is that I started to care about him too. Patricia made a note. And you're both aware that if this relationship continues, we may need to formalize a disclosure agreement? We are, Justin said. And you're comfortable with that? Yes. Patricia studied them both for a long moment. Then, very well. We'll review Mr. Kang's documentation and follow up within the week. Until then, maintain professional boundaries during work hours. Understood? Understood, they said in unison. You're dismissed. Mary made it to the parking lot before the shaking started. She leaned against her car, breathing hard, trying to hold herself together. Mary. She looked up. Justin stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry you're going through this because of me. Don't. He stepped closer. Don't apologize for something we both chose. They're going to keep watching us. Diane's going to keep digging. Let her. I meant what I said in there. We did nothing wrong. But what if they decide it doesn't matter? What if... Mary. His voice was gentle but firm. We're going to be okay. You don't know that. I do, because I'm not going to let them take this from us. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the determination in his eyes, the refusal to back down. Why are you fighting so hard for this? She asked. Because you're worth fighting for. The words hit her like a punch to the chest. Justin closed the distance between them. You've been trying to disappear your whole life, Mary. Staying small, staying quiet, not asking for too much. But I see you, and I'm not going to let you disappear. Not from this, not from me. Her vision blurred. I'm scared. I know, but you don't have to be scared alone anymore. And there, in the parking lot with the warehouse humming behind them and the future uncertain, Mary made a choice. She stepped forward and let Justin pull her into his arms. Not because she needed saving, but because she was finally ready to let someone stay. The investigation took 9 days. 9 days of walking on eggshells, of keeping 5 feet of distance during shifts, of pretending they were nothing more than colleagues while the entire warehouse watched. Mary threw herself into work and school, burying herself in inventory reports and logistics assignments. Justin did the same, working late, taking extra shifts, avoiding anything that could be construed as improper. They didn't text, didn't meet outside work. It was safer that way. But safe felt like suffocation. On the 9th night, Mary was alone in Wing B during the graveyard shift, one of the rotating overnight assignments that paid extra but left you hollow-eyed and disoriented. The warehouse was nearly empty, just a skeleton crew keeping operations running while the day staff slept. She was checking the last row of inventory when she heard footsteps. Justin appeared at the end of the aisle, clipboard in hand, looking as tired as she felt. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "You're not scheduled tonight." "Covering for someone." He stopped 3 feet away, professional distance. "Couldn't sleep anyway." Mary set down her scanner. "Yeah, me either." They stood in silence for a moment, the fluorescent lights humming overhead. "This is hell," she said finally. "Yeah. I hate not being able to talk to you." "I know. Justin, I miss you too," he said quietly. "Every damn day." Her chest ached. What if they decide we can't be together? What if they say it's a conflict of interest, and one of us has to transfer? Then I'll transfer. She stared at him. "You can't do that." "Why not?" "Because you've been here for 5 years. You've built your career here. I'm not going to let you throw that away." "Then you transfer." And give up my shot at the administrative promotion? Mary shook her head. That's not fair either. Then what do you want to do? Justin's voice was strained. Because I don't have the answer, Mary. I just know I don't want to lose you. The vulnerability in his voice broke something open in her chest. Come here, she whispered. Mary, please. Justin closed the distance. Not touching, but close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. I'm tired of pretending, she said. Tired of keeping distance, tired of second-guessing everything. I don't care if the whole warehouse is watching. I don't care if Diane has a problem. I care about you, and I don't want to hide it anymore. His jaw tightened. If we do this, if we stop hiding, there's no going back. I know. They'll talk. They'll judge. They'll make it harder than it needs to be. I know. And you're okay with that? Mary looked up at him. I spent my whole life trying to be invisible, trying not to need anyone, not to take up space, not to ask for too much. And then you saw me. You saw all the broken, messy, struggling parts of me, and you didn't look away. You stayed. Her voice cracked. So yeah, I'm okay with people talking. Because having you is worth it. For a moment, Justin just looked at her. Then he reached out and took her hand, slowly, deliberately, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady. I'm not going anywhere, he said. No matter what HR decides, no matter what Diane does, no matter how hard this gets, I'm staying. Promise? Promise. And there, in the empty warehouse at 2 a.m., surrounded by stacked boxes and the hum of machinery, they stopped running. The next morning, Patricia called them back to HR. Mary's hands were steady this time. Patricia looked at them across the desk. We've completed our review. Mr. Kang's documentation is thorough, and we found no evidence of impropriety. However, to avoid any future conflicts, we're implementing a formal disclosure agreement. You'll sign acknowledgement that you're in a relationship, and Mr. Kang will no longer have direct evaluative authority over Ms. Carter's performance. That's it? Mary asked. That's it. Patricia's expression softened slightly. You're allowed to have personal lives. We just need transparency. They signed the paperwork in silence. As they left the office, Justin caught her hand briefly. Just a squeeze, there and gone. But it was enough. They'd survived. That night, Justin texted her. Justin. Dinner, actual date, not warehouse cafeteria. Mary. Are you asking me out? Justin. I'm asking if you'll let me take you somewhere nice and buy you food. Mary. Took you long enough. Justin. I know. Making up for lost time. Mary smiled at her phone. Mary. Friday 7 p.m., and it better not be a drive-thru. Justin. Deal. Justin picked her up at 6:55 p.m. on Friday. Mary had changed outfits 3 times before settling on jeans, a sweater, and the kind of nervous energy that made her check her reflection every 5 minutes. When she opened the door, Justin stood on the other side wearing a button-down shirt and an expression somewhere between nervous and determined. Hi, he said. Hi. They stared at each other for 3 seconds. You look nice, he added. So do you. More staring. Mary laughed. This is weird, right? We've had lunch together 50 times, but now it's weird. Justin's shoulders relaxed. Yeah, really weird. Okay, good. Let's go be weird together. He drove them to a diner on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just red vinyl booths and laminated menus and the smell of coffee and frying bacon. It was perfect. They slid into a booth by the window. So, Justin said, opening his menu. First official date. How's it going so far? Well, you showed up on time and didn't take me to a fast food drive-thru, so you're already exceeding expectations. He smiled. Setting the bar low. Smart. I'm a realist. They ordered burgers, fries, milkshakes, and fell into the kind of easy conversation they'd always had. But this time, there was no warehouse noise, no time limits, no need to keep their voices professional. "Tell me something I don't know about you," Mary said, stealing a fry from his plate. "Like what?" "Anything. Favorite movie, secret talent, embarrassing childhood story." Justin considered. "I used to be terrified of dogs." "Used to be?" "Yeah. When I was 8, a neighbor's German shepherd chased me down the street. I was convinced I was going to die." Mary grinned. "And now? Now I think dogs are fine. From a distance." "So you're telling me you're a cat person?" "I'm telling you I respect animals that respect personal space." She laughed, real, unguarded laughter, and Justin's expression softened. "I like that sound," he said. "What sound?" "You laughing. You don't do it enough." Mary's smile faded slightly. "I guess I haven't had a lot to laugh about lately." "I know." He reached across the table and took her hand. "But I'd like to change that, if you'll let me." Her throat tightened. "You already have." They ate slowly, talking about everything and nothing. His terrible taste in action movies, her stress-baking habit, the logistics course she was taking that made her want to scream. It was normal, easy, real. By the time they finished, it was nearly 9. Justin paid the check over Mary's protests and walked her back to his car, but instead of driving immediately, he turned to face her. "I need to say something," he began. Mary's stomach flipped. "Okay. I know this has been complicated. The warehouse, the investigation, all of it. And I know you're still figuring out how to let someone in." He paused. "But I need you to know, I'm not here because I think you need saving. I'm here because I see who you are. The strength, the resilience, the way you keep showing up even when things are hard. That's what I care about. That's what I want." Mary's eyes burned. "I don't know how to do this. The whole relationship thing. I've spent so long keeping people at a distance. Then we'll figure it out together. Slowly. No pressure. What if I mess it up? Then we'll fix it." He squeezed her hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Mary. I told you that. I meant it." She looked at him. This man who'd defended her, protected her, waited patiently for her to trust him, and made a choice. She leaned across the console and kissed him. It wasn't dramatic or perfect, just a soft press of lips, tentative and real. When she pulled back, Justin's eyes were wide. "Was that okay?" she whispered. "Yeah," he said, voice rough. "That was okay." She smiled. "Good. Because I've been wanting to do that for weeks." "Yeah?" "Yeah." He kissed her again, slower this time, one hand cradling her face like she was something precious. When they finally pulled apart, Mary was breathless. "So," she said, "second date?" Justin grinned. "Definitely." 3 weeks into dating, Justin asked the question Mary had been dreading. "Do you want to meet my mom?" They were sitting in his car outside her apartment, post-shift exhaustion settling over them like a blanket. Mary's heart skipped. "Your mom?" "Yeah. She's been asking about you." "You told your mom about me?" "Of course I did." Justin looked confused. "Why wouldn't I?" "I don't know. I just didn't think—" Mary stopped. "What did you tell her?" "That I'm dating someone I care about. Someone smart and strong and stubborn as hell." Despite her nerves, Mary smiled. "You said that?" Maybe not the stubborn part, but she got the idea. Mary chewed her lip. "What if she doesn't like me?" "She'll like you." "You don't know that." "Mary." He turned to face her. "My mom went through burnout, remember? She understands what it's like to struggle. She's not going to judge you." "It's not about judgment. It's about—" She trailed off, searching for words. "Meeting someone's family is a big deal. It means you're serious." "I am serious." The declaration hung between them. Mary swallowed. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah." I'll meet your mom." The following Sunday, Justin drove her to a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. Mary's palms were sweating. "Relax," Justin said, noticing her white-knuckled grip on her seatbelt. "She doesn't bite." "Easy for you to say." He squeezed her hand. "I'll be right there." The door opened before they reached it. Mrs. Kang was small, elegant, with graying hair and sharp eyes that immediately zeroed in on Mary. "So you're the one my son won't stop talking about." Mary's face heated. "Hi, it's nice to meet you." Mrs. Kang smiled. "Come in. I made tea." Inside, the house was warm and lived in. Photos on the walls, books stacked on shelves, the smell of jasmine tea and something baking. They sat in the living room, and Mrs. Kang poured tea with practiced grace. "Justin tells me you work at the distribution center," she began. "Yes, ma'am. I'm in inventory management, and I'm studying logistics at night." "That's a lot." "It keeps me busy." Mrs. Kang studied her. "Busy is good, but be careful you don't burn yourself out." Mary's throat tightened. "I'm trying." "She's doing great," Justin interjected. "She's one of the top performers in her department, and she's on track to graduate next semester." "I'm not worried about her performance," Mrs. Kang said, eyes still on Mary. "I'm worried about whether she's taking care of herself." The directness caught Mary off guard. I know what it's like," Mrs. Kang continued gently. "To push yourself because you think you have to. To believe that asking for help is weakness." She set down her teacup. "But strength isn't carrying everything alone. It's knowing when to let someone help you carry it." Mary blinked rapidly, emotion rising in her chest. "Justin told me about your anxiety," Mrs. Kang added. "I hope you don't mind." He was worried. "I don't mind," Mary whispered. "Good, because I want you to know you're not alone. And if my son cares about you, which he clearly does, then you're family. And family takes care of each other." A tear slipped down Mary's cheek before she could stop it. Justin reached over and took her hand. Mrs. Kang smiled. "Now, tell me about this logistics course. Justin says you're brilliant." 2 hours later, as they drove home, Mary was quiet. "You okay?" Justin asked. "Your mom is amazing." "Yeah, she is. She likes me. I told you she would." Mary turned to him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For bringing me into your family. For letting me be part of something real." Justin pulled over, put the car in park, and kissed her. "You've always been real, Mary. I'm just glad you're finally seeing it." Tatusn. In December, Mary received an email that changed everything. Subject: Internal Promotion Opportunity, Junior Logistics Coordinator. Her hands shook as she read it. The position was in the administrative wing, coordinating inventory flow, analyzing supply chain data, interfacing with vendors. Everything she'd been working toward. The application deadline was 2 weeks. Mary called Tasha immediately. "Did you see the posting?" "Yeah, you're applying, right?" "I don't know. What if people think I only got it because of Justin?" "Girl, you've been grinding for 2 years. You earned this." "But the optics, screw the optics, apply. Show them what you're made of." Mary applied. The interview was scheduled for the following Thursday. Panel interview, 3 managers, including Harrison Cole. Mary prepared obsessively, researching supply chain optimization strategies, reviewing her coursework, practicing answers to common questions. Justin stayed out of it entirely. "I can't help you with this," he said when she asked for advice. "It has to be yours." She understood, and she was grateful. The interview lasted 90 minutes. They asked about her experience, her education, her approach to problem solving. They presented hypothetical scenarios: supply delays, inventory discrepancies, vendor conflicts, and asked how she'd handle them. Mary answered with confidence, pulling from years of frontline experience and months of academic theory. When it was over, Harrison walked her to the door. "You did well," he said, We'll be in touch. The offer came 3 days later. We're pleased to offer you the position of Junior Logistics Coordinator, effective January 1st. Mary read the email 5 times before it felt real. She'd done it. Not because someone pulled strings. Not because Justin intervened. Because she'd worked for it, earned it, proven herself. She called Justin. I got it. You got it? His voice was bright, proud. Mary, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. I did it myself. I know you did. I never doubted it. Her eyes burned. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Always. On her last day in Wing B, Tasha threw her an impromptu celebration, gas station cupcakes and cheap soda in the break room. Speech, Tasha demanded. Mary laughed. I don't do speeches. Too bad. You're doing one anyway. Mary stood, looking around at the faces of people she'd worked alongside for 18 months. Thank you, she said simply, for making this place feel less like a job and more like a team. I couldn't have done this without you. Tasha hugged her. Don't forget about us when you're fancy and corporate. Never. That night, Justin took her to the same diner where they'd had their first date. To new beginnings, he said, raising his milkshake. Mary clinked her glass against his. To new beginnings. How does it feel? Terrifying, exciting, like everything's about to change. It is. He reached across the table. But some things don't have to change. Like what? Like this. Like us. Mary smiled. I'm counting on it. Right. The administrative role was everything Mary hoped for, and harder than she'd expected. She had her own desk, her own computer, her own projects. But she also had deadlines, presentations, meetings with senior leadership, and the constant pressure to prove she deserved the position. The imposter syndrome hit hard. 2 weeks into the new role, she stayed late analyzing a supply chain report that wasn't making sense. The numbers didn't add up, and she couldn't figure out why. Justin found her at 8 p.m., still at her desk, surrounded by printouts. You're still here. She looked up, exhausted. I can't crack this report. There's a discrepancy somewhere, but I can't find it. He walked over, glanced at the papers. Want a second set of eyes? No. Her voice was sharper than intended. I need to figure this out myself. Justin raised his hands. Okay. I'm sorry, She rubbed her face. Everyone's watching me, waiting to see if I fail. I can't ask for help. Why not? Because then they'll think I didn't earn this, that I only got promoted because of you. Mary. Justin crouched beside her chair. Nobody thinks that. You earned this position. But that doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. I've always done everything alone. I know, but you don't have to anymore. She looked at him, this man who'd been steady through everything, who never pushed but never left. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared that if I ask for help, I'll prove I'm not good enough. Asking for help doesn't make you weak, it makes you smart. He tapped the report. Let me look. Not because you can't do it, but because 2 brains are better than 1. Mary hesitated, then nodded. Justin scanned the numbers, flipped through pages, then pointed. There, row 47. The date code's off by a month. That's throwing your totals. She looked. He was right. Relief and frustration warred in her chest. How did you see that so fast? Because I wasn't stressed. Fresh eyes. He stood. You would have found it eventually. I just sped up the process. Mary saved the corrected report, then turned to face him. Thank you for helping, for not making me feel weak for needing it. You're not weak, Mary. You're human. I spent so long believing I had to carry everything alone, that needing someone made me less. And now? She took a breath. Now I'm learning that letting someone stay doesn't mean they're saving me. It means I trust them enough to be real. Justin smiled. I'll take that. Mary stood and wrapped her arms around him. I don't need you to save me, Justin. I just need you to stay. I'm not going anywhere. A year later, everything had changed, and nothing had. Mary had been promoted again, this time to logistics coordinator. She'd graduated with her degree. She'd moved into a better apartment. Justin was still at the distribution center, still leading his team with quiet competence. They'd built a life together. Not flashy or dramatic, but steady. Real. One Saturday morning, Justin picked her up for breakfast. They went to the same diner, their booth. Halfway through pancakes, he set down his fork. I have something for you. Mary looked up. It's not my birthday. I know. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small box. Her breath caught. Justin opened it. Inside was a simple silver ring. No diamonds, no elaborate design. Just clean lines and quiet elegance. I'm not good with speeches, he began. And this isn't a grand gesture. No fireworks, no crowd, no scripted moment. Mary's eyes filled with tears. But I know this. I want to build a life with you. Not because you need me, but because I choose you. Every day. The messy parts, the strong parts, all of it. He took her hand. Mary Carter, will you marry me? For a moment she couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Then, yes. Justin smiled, wide, genuine, relieved, and slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. I love you, Mary whispered. I don't say it enough, but I do. I know. He kissed her knuckles. I love you too. Around them, the diner continued its Saturday morning rhythm. Clinking dishes, coffee pouring, conversations buzzing. Nobody noticed the quiet moment happening in the corner booth. But that was perfect, because their love had never needed an audience. Namrand. They planned the wedding for spring, small ceremony, close friends and family, nothing elaborate. Mrs. Kang helped Mary pick out a dress. Tasha agreed to be the maid of honor with the condition that she could wear whatever shoes she wanted. I'm not walking down an aisle in heels that want me dead. Justin's best man was his younger brother, who flew in from Seattle and immediately started teasing him about finally settling down. The venue was a small garden outside the city. Rented tables, string lights, wildflowers instead of expensive arrangements. The morning of the wedding, Mary woke up in her apartment with Tasha sprawled on the couch and Mrs. Kang making tea in the kitchen. Nervous? Tasha asked, braiding Mary's hair. Terrified. Good terrified or bad terrified? Mary thought about it. Good. Like standing at the edge of something wonderful. Mrs. Kang appeared in the doorway, holding a steaming mug. That's exactly what marriage should feel like. The ceremony started at 4 p.m. Mary walked down the makeshift aisle alone, not because she didn't have family, but because she'd chosen to. This moment was hers, her choice, her future. Justin stood at the front in a simple gray suit, hands in his pockets, watching her with an expression that made her heart stutter. When she reached him, he took her hands. Hi, he whispered. Hi. The officiant, a friend of Mrs. Kang's, smiled. Shall we begin? The vows were short, traditional. But when Justin said, I do, his voice was steady and sure. And when Mary said it back, she meant it with every piece of herself. You may kiss. Justin was already kissing her before the officiant finished. The small crowd cheered. At the reception, Tasha gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. I met Mary when she was convinced she had to do everything alone. And then I watched this quiet, stubborn man show up and refuse to let her disappear. He didn't save her. He just made sure she knew she didn't have to be strong every second of every day. Tasha raised her glass. To Mary and Justin, the couple that proves love doesn't have to be loud to be real. Everyone drank. Later, during the first dance, Justin pulled Mary close. No regrets? He murmured. None. You? Not a single one. They swayed in the fading light, surrounded by people who loved them, building a life that was theirs. That night, as they drove to the small bed and breakfast where they'd spend their wedding night, Justin handed Mary a water bottle from the cup holder. She looked at it, then at him. On the side, in permanent marker, he'd written, "Breathe. J." Mary laughed, surprised, delighted. "You kept the tradition. Always." She unscrewed the cap, took a sip, and reached for his hand. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me when I was invisible, for staying when I pushed you away, for building this with me." Justin squeezed her hand. "Thank you for letting me." Marriage was an adjustment, not bad, just different. Mary learned that Justin hoarded coffee mugs and forgot to close cabinets. Justin discovered that Mary reorganized the pantry when she was stressed and talked to herself while working through problems. They bickered about laundry, negotiated furniture placement, figured out whose turn it was to cook. It was mundane and beautiful. Mary's career continued to grow. She was managing a team now, leading projects, presenting to executives. The imposter syndrome still crept in sometimes, but she'd learned to recognize it and to ask for support when she needed it. Justin eventually moved into a regional management position, overseeing multiple distribution centers. It meant more responsibility, more travel, but he made it work. They made it work. One evening, 6 months after the wedding, they sat on their small apartment balcony watching the sunset. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Mary asked. "What do you mean?" "If you hadn't noticed that day, if you'd walked past my station, if you hadn't left the water bottle, if you hadn't protected me." Justin was quiet for a moment. "I think I would have noticed eventually. Maybe not that exact day, but soon. Because I was already paying attention." "Why?" "Because you were working harder than anyone else. Staying late, never complaining, always pushing. I recognized it." He turned to face her. "I saw someone trying to carry the world alone, and I couldn't walk past that." Mary's throat tightened. "I'm glad you didn't." "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, watching the sky turn orange and pink. "I got an email today," Mary said eventually. "They're opening a new logistics hub in the city. They want me to lead the transition team." Justin's eyebrows rose. "That's huge. It's terrifying. You'll be amazing." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He kissed her temple. "Because I've watched you face every challenge that's come your way, and you've never backed down. I've wanted to. But you didn't. That's what matters." Mary leaned against him. "What if I fail?" "Then you'll learn and try again, and I'll be here either way." She closed her eyes, letting the certainty in his voice settle over her like a blanket. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll do it. That's my girl." Mary started the new role in early fall. The logistics hub was chaos. New systems, new staff, tight deadlines, and a million moving pieces. She worked 12-hour days, came home exhausted, and fell asleep reviewing spreadsheets. Justin worried, but didn't hover. He made sure she ate, forced her to take breaks, and reminded her to breathe when the pressure mounted. 3 weeks into the project, Mary walked into her office to find a small succulent on her desk. No note. Just a tiny green plant in a terracotta pot. She knew immediately who'd left it. That night, when Justin got home, she was waiting. "You broke into my office." He grinned. "I didn't break in. I have clearance for vendor access. You used your credentials to sneak a plant onto my desk. Technically, I walked in normally and placed it there." Mary tried to look stern, failed. "Why a plant?" "Because you need something alive in that office that isn't you, slowly dying from stress." He pulled her close. "And because plants need consistent care. Like relationships, like people." Her chest tightened. "You're ridiculous." "You love it." "Yeah, I do." The plant became a fixture. Mary watered it religiously, checked its leaves, moved it closer to the window when it looked droopy. It thrived. And so did she. 2 months into the hub transition, disaster struck. A critical system integration failed. Data was lost. Shipments were delayed. Vendors were threatening to pull contracts. Mary spent 72 hours straight trying to fix it, coordinating with IT, negotiating with suppliers, communicating with executives. On the third night, at 2 a.m., sitting in her office surrounded by cold coffee and panic, her hands started shaking again. Not from anxiety this time. From exhaustion. She stared at them, watching the tremor, and felt the old fear rise. I'm going to fail. I'm going to lose everything. I can't do this. Her phone rang. Justin. Hello? Her voice cracked. Come home. I can't. I have to. Mary, come home. Justin, the system will still be broken in 6 hours. Come home. Sleep. Eat. Breathe. Then go back. I don't have time. You're shaking, aren't you? She froze. How did you? Because I know you. And I know when you've hit the wall. His voice gentled. You can't fix anything if you break yourself first. Come home. Mary looked at the spreadsheets, the reports, the disaster unfolding in real time. Then she looked at her hands. Okay, she whispered. She drove home in the pre-dawn darkness, walked into their apartment, and collapsed into Justin's arms. He didn't ask questions, just held her. I'm scared I'm going to fail, she admitted. You're not going to fail. You don't know that. I know you, and I know you'll find a way. He pulled back to look at her. But you can't do it alone. Ask for help. Delegate. Trust your team. I'm supposed to have all the answers. No one has all the answers, Mary. That's why we build teams. She closed her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. But first, you need to rest. He guided her to bed, made sure she ate something, and sat with her until she fell asleep. 6 hours later, Mary woke up clear-headed. She called an emergency team meeting, divided the problems into manageable pieces, assigned tasks, and coordinated a response plan. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Within a week, the system was stabilized. Within 2, they were back on track. Mary's supervisor called her into his office. I heard about the crisis and how you handled it. Mary braced for criticism. You did exactly what a good leader does. Stayed calm, leveraged your team, and solved the problem. Well done. Relief flooded through her. That night, she came home to find Justin cooking dinner. You survived, he said. Barely. But you survived. And you didn't do it alone. Mary wrapped her arms around him from behind. Thank you. For making me come home. For reminding me I don't have to carry everything by myself. Always. Then, 3 years after Justin first noticed Mary's hands shaking, they stood in the parking lot of the distribution center. Now just a place they visited occasionally, not where they worked. Mary had been promoted to senior logistics manager at the regional office. Justin was director of operations for the entire district. They'd bought a house, adopted a dog, Mary's idea, and a cat, Justin's compromise. Built a life that was messy and real and theirs. Do you ever miss it? Mary asked, looking at the familiar building. The warehouse? Sometimes. The people, mostly. Yeah. They stood in silence for a moment. You know what I don't miss? Justin said. What? Watching you pretend you were fine when you weren't. Watching you carry everything alone. Mary leaned against him. I don't do that anymore. I know. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. He kissed the top of her head. Me too. And that night they had dinner with Tasha and her girlfriend at their favorite restaurant. Remember when you two were tiptoeing around each other and the whole warehouse was gossiping? Tasha laughed. Simpler times. Speak for yourself, Mary said. That was terrifying. But worth it, Justin added, squeezing her hand under the table. Absolutely worth it. 5 years after the water bottle. Mary stood in front of a conference room full of logistics professionals, presenting a keynote on supply chain resilience. She'd been invited to speak at a national conference. Her, the girl who used to tremble holding a barcode scanner. Justin sat in the back row, watching with quiet pride. When she finished, the applause was genuine. People approached with questions, business cards, congratulations. Afterward, in the hotel lobby, Justin found her. "You were incredible." I was nervous. "Couldn't tell," she smiled. "Liar." "Okay, maybe a little, but you powered through." They walked out into the evening air, hands linked. "Do you remember that night in Wing C?" Mary asked. "When you first saw my hands shaking?" "Every detail. I thought my life was ending. I thought if anyone saw, I'd lose everything. And instead, I found everything." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "You saw me at my worst and didn't flinch. You stayed when I pushed you away. You taught me that needing someone doesn't make me weak. It makes me human." Justin cupped her face. "You taught me something too." "What?" "That love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about showing up, consistently, especially when things are hard." Mary's eyes filled. "I love you." "I love you too." They kissed in the fading light, two people who'd built something real from a single moment of vulnerability. Years later, when people asked Mary how she and Justin met, she always smiled. "He noticed my hands shaking once," she'd say, "and instead of treating me differently, he just made sure I wasn't alone. Everything else grew from there." It wasn't a fairy tale. There were no dramatic rescues or explosive declarations, just a man who paid attention and a woman who finally let herself be seen. Just water bottles left on desks and quiet support through hard days. Just two quiet people who built a loud love, one steady moment at a time. And in their home, on Mary's desk beside her laptop, sat a small succulent in a terracotta pot, still thriving, still cared for. A reminder that some things grow strongest when they're nurtured with patience, consistency, and love that doesn't need to announce itself. It just shows up and stays.